Welcome to the Comics Cube, everyone. Today I'm joined by Phil Russert. How are you?
Hey, how are you? Thanks for having me on.
So we are here to talk about your comic Tragedy, which is currently up on Indiegogo. But before I start with that, the question I start every interview with is, why do you love comics?
Growing up with a rough childhood, comics were my escape. Um, they were my friends, as silly as that sounds, and they kind of helped me with my moral compass. What right and wrong, what a hero sacrifice is, and just comics that you can relate to. And it was a good way to retreat for a while in a rough time, in a rough world.
Any specific comics that meant a lot to you as a kid?
My favorite runs are the Claremont X-Men, of course, specifically with John Byrne, but obviously when he was with Cockrum at first, and then after that, it was just
Paul
amazing.
Smith.
Yeah, I was about to say
Yeah.
Paul Smith. I was about to name that. He's a very underrated artist. Um, and I loved Excalibur with Alan Davis and
Yeah.
Claremont. Those are probably like the real stuck with me. I mean, I can name thousands, like Born Again, Daredevil, and Avengers, but those are probably the two.
So would you say Chris Claremont is the biggest influence on you when it comes to writing comics, or?
I've never been a celebrity worshiper or like influenced by people in that kind of sense consciously, but people have told me my writing, and I'm not saying I'm on his level, but my style is like his, where I open a lot of plot threads and it's more branching out than linear. Except I like to close some of those plot threads before I start opening new ones. um, so I would say that Claremont is my favorite writer in comics. Peter David's also awesome. But so again, it's not usually conscious, but I guess you could say that because without me saying anything, have said that they could see his influence in me. So I guess so.
Yeah, Claremont is historically underrated, isn't he? Because I was reading some really old comics, and then he was up for all of these best writer awards. Like you could see it in the ads, and I'm like, nobody ever talks about this anymore.
Well, you know what it is, I mean, first of all, 17 years on X-Men, you kind of it's like typecast. That's an actor who gets typecast, it's like, oh, he writes the X-Men, he's great, but they forget all the other stories that he wrote, and the other titles he's been on, Power Man and Iron Fist and stuff like that. So I think that's one thing. The other thing is, of course, all the people that made comics amazing have they don't get work often anymore, and it's a shame. I mean, he just recently got a gig again on Marvel, which is great, but you know, I don't know. I think they've moved away from the people that built this industry.
Yeah, there's that, and there's also like just generally uh, a movement for even within themselves to like kind of own their own stuff, right? Like Simonson is doing Ragnarok now, and yeah,
Yeah, I think a lot of people. I mean, after how many years of creating all these amazing characters that you are getting a royalty check for instead of owning, I would imagine, yeah. I mean, you at some point you want to branch out and make your own. And I mean, you got to look at Todd McFarlane and say, wow, he owns Spawn. Look what he's getting to do with Spawn. But does Will Spatasio get that with Bishop? No,
no,
that's Marvel's character, and
yeah,
he made that character. So I think the indie scene is the at the height of what it's been. I mean, you've got Scott, what's his name? Oh my God, why am I the writer?
Scott
Famous
Snyder,
Snyder, thank you.
yeah.
Scott Snyder doing his own thing, and Billy Tucci, and there's a lot of people that are just crowdfunding and they're loving the freedom and they're certainly getting rewarded for it.
So speaking of that, what led to you specifically wanting to make comics?
I'm 49. I've been reading since 9, and I've always loved it. But I grew up in an age where we didn't have the internet or Kickstarter or anything, so it was unheard of that you would be able to make a comic. It was just not possible. And I was intimidated by writing. Um, I got sick with COVID last January, and it almost killed me.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear
And
that.
I'm here. I was a week in the hospital, 6 weeks in bed. and I was on oxygen, and I had blood clots in my lungs, pneumonia, COVID, blood clot in my leg. It was hard, and I'm never one to be stagnant. I've never been that way. So laying in bed was driving me crazy. Even though I knew I was just weak and tired and I couldn't get up, I still my mind was like, this is prison. Um, so I had a vision of a character in my head that came out of nowhere that I didn't do anything with for 3 or 4 months. It came 3 or 4 months prior, and I said, I got nothing else to do, man. Bucket list. And
May as well.
I just started writing, and I just kept writing, and I wrote 13 issues while in bed, and I'm at 20 issues right now because I've been back to work and it's been hard. I work 3 jobs, and published 2 books. My first book, From Zero to In Your Hands, was 4 months.
Oh, wow. That
Yeah,
was pretty quick. Yeah.
yeah, and thankfully, a lot of people have supported me, and it's getting a lot of buzz, and it's in stores all over the country, and it's selling pretty well in most of them, and
This is
it's getting
tragedy,
really
right?
good reviews. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's getting
So
really good reviews.
so that's the first issue that you're talking about. So we're looking forward to more than 20.
Oh, this is ongoing. Yeah, I mean, until kind of like Robert Kirkman with Invincible, right? Until I don't have a story to tell anymore, I'm going to keep going.
Oh, you're
And I
gonna keep
have a
going until it's
story.
done.
Yeah, I have stories in my head through 50 issues. As a matter of fact, this is book 2 that's on Indiegogo right
Yeah.
now. You get better as you go, because I was a new writer, a new publisher, new editor, all this. So we remastered book 1 with Chris Sotomayor colors. He's a Marvel DC colorist, and
Yeah.
we Ricardo drew a few pages, because we're going to shop them to Image and maybe Boom and some other places, and we want to give the most professional product as possible.
Tell our viewers what tragedy is about.
Well, it's a couple of things. She is a character that I feel every human can relate to, but it was inspired by my wife and every woman I've ever met. I've never met a woman that understood how beautiful she was, how strong she was, how powerful she was, how capable she was. Women beat themselves down a lot, and they just never realize, no matter how much you tell them as a friend, a girl, a boyfriend, a partner, whatever, husband, they just never hear you. So I wanted to write a character that kind of reminded them that, yes, you have your moments of being a lamb, but you are a lion. And so tragedy is, she's an Irish assassin, Sarah O'Connor. Sarah, Jesus Christ, sorry, Grace O'Connor. Hello.
That's a different character.
Yeah, really. Wow, I don't know where that came from. So Grace O'Connor, and her father was the head of the Irish mafia in Hell's Kitchen. Now, the reason why it's in Hell's Kitchen is because historical, factual truth is the Westies were the Irish mafia, and they were in Hell's Kitchen. My dad grew up with them, actually. He didn't work for them, but he got along with them, don't ruffle feathers. So her father, the mother's not in the picture. I tell that later in the story. The father was very good to her, kept her away from that life, and he would take her out all the time, and they had a really good bond. He was a good, loving father, despite what he did for a living. They would go to the ballet a lot, and she loved it, and she became a ballerina. Her father was murdered around when she was about 15, 16. And his right-hand man, Seamus, and his wife, Deirdre, took over the New York branch, and they adopt her because they can't have children. Seamus is a sociopath that sends her away at 16 years old for 12 years to become a trained assassin. She trains in unknown parts of China, and she trains with a military strategist as well for grapple fighting and boxing and wrestling and firearm use. She comes back after 12 years, and the story takes place basically a year after she's been back. She hates her stepfather and knows what he is, but she still wants his love and respect and needs it. And the more she recognizes that she needs that love and respect from a man that doesn't deserve it, she hates herself for it. I mean, how many of us have been in relationships where we know that we deserve better than this person, but yet we keep seeking out their affection. And it's this vicious cycle, right? Well, that's what she goes through. But she's also living a life that she can't stand. She hates it, but she feels trapped in it. Doesn't know if she even deserves better than this, doesn't know if she knows how to get out of it. And how many of us wake up to a job we hate every day and want to just curl the covers over our head and say, I don't want to face the day, but our strength is that we do anyway. And this isn't a hero that wins every fight. I mean, He-Man and all those heroes, G.I. Joe, it's hard to take them serious because they're never tested. The villains never win. I mean, that's why we love Empire Strikes Back and Revenge of the Sith, right? The bad guys won. And that's when you become a hero, when you're tested and you face that adversity.
It's all about the comeback.
Yes. I mean, honestly, we love the underdog. We root for the person that got their butt handed to them, and how do they get out of this? So she doesn't win every fight, but she keeps fighting, and that's her strength. And she's guarded. She lost the people she loved in her life, her father. She's being used by people that should be loving her. She's guarded, and she doesn't want to let people in. And you explore her inner demons, her lack of peace within. And that's a big theme here. The tagline is, will she find peace, or will they all rest in peace? And while that's happening, though, I got tired of comics becoming just soap opera drama with tons of unnecessary exposition. So I have 9-page fight scenes where it's a 30-page book. The first one, second one's 26 pages, where it's like, you're getting into it. It's spandex superhero fighting, across the cityscape, because we got away from that fun,
I find it funny that you say that minutes after you say Chris Claremont is your favorite writer.
Yeah, but
it's his fault.
And I can't argue that. So and that's why I said to you, I don't know if it's a conscious emulation of him, because I do incorporate that as well. Yeah. But with his exposition, I do move it along. It's not drawn out. The pacing, I've been told, is very good because I want to keep you interested. And there you have to balance that fine line of, am I really delving too much? And that's where you allow the artist and trust your artist to tell as much of the story as your dialogue does.
So how did you hook up with Ricardo Silva?
Well, I knew Ricardo. I followed him because I thought he was a great artist. And then I became an artist representation. I represent artists. I'm an agent. And I started Legendary Illustrations. And I reached out to him. I was like, you know what? You're really talented. Do you have a rep? And it just so happens he had just left the Ed Bennis studio. So he joined on with me because I just thought he was really talented. And I started getting him work with Marat Michaels and other people. And when I decided to write the book, I was like, it's him. His style, it's him. The book is him all the way. He has that 90s style that I love. See, I love the stories of the 80s the best, but I love the art direction and style of the 90s the best.
A little bit more out of the box.
Yeah, so I think my books are a nice blend of 80s writing with 90s story and action, and Ricardo just was perfect. And he was like, oh, I'd love to do this. And he's been amazing to work with.
That's very cool. What does he bring to the table?
Well, the first thing is he has no ego, and I don't either. At the end of the day, my ego is putting out the best professional book I can. And he has the same philosophy. So if he has edits that if there are edits I have to throw at him, there's never any resistance. It's, yes, I can do that, no problem. And he does it. But if he thinks that maybe he can expand an extra page to make the panels more interesting, or because there's too much dialogue, I'll look at that and go, okay, we have a great chemistry of, we both understand what our roles are. Our egos are in check. We just want to have the best book possible. So the first thing is that he's just a great, humble guy. The second is obviously his line work is amazing. He inks his own stuff, which he's really talented as well. And he's become a loyal friend. I mean, we're loyal friends. You know, we video all the time. My kids love him and his wife, and they love us. And they're coming in October to stay for 2 weeks. And I like to invest in people, not just their talent, because at the end of the day, we're all trying to just live our dreams, be happy, find that peace. Why can't we do it together? I mean, if I believe in what I'm doing, why would I be worried about what you're doing? It'll sell itself.
It's a good Zen way to look at life in general. Huh?
And it's funny you say Zen, because a lot of the book has a very spiritual influence, not in a preachy kind of way and not in a religion kind of way, but it deals with chi and focused energy and having a centered, balanced, soul. And it gets into that. Again, not heavy and preachy, but it is a theme that goes on. Maybe that's my Star Wars influence, the Force. But
I was going to ask if that's something that you practice in everyday life.
I'm a hot-headed Irishman. I try my best to keep my temper under control, and I have been very successful most of the time. Sometimes no, because I'm flawed like everybody else. But my philosophy is always to try to. My favorite quote in the world is, "Be the change in the world you wish to see."
Yeah.
And I try every day. I don't know if I always succeed, but I try. So, and my other favorite quote, and it's from James O'Barr and the Crow, is God is mother is God on the lips of children.
Yeah.
And as a father of 2 little girls and a wife that I adore, it's just
it's true. Huh?
It is.
It's absolutely true. I love the Crow. And can you tell me what kinds of twists and turns? Oh, well, before we get there, how do you hook up with Chris Sotomayor? Because that's a huge colorist right there.
Well, Alex Sinclair also colored a cover. I have covers by Will Spatasio, Ian Churchill. I'm friends with a lot of big names in the industry because, one, if you look behind me, you can see my art collection.
Yeah.
And 2, I run my own comic conventions here in New York. So they've been guested at my shows and I treat them very well. And my shows are centered and focused on them being the celebrity. I don't do pop culture. It's comic books and the creators that made them.
Mm-hmm.
So over the years, I've cultivated relationships and friendships with them. So when I was time to do the book and I asked them to do it, they were more than willing and accommodating. Will Spatasio said, his wife, Jo, I was talking to her and she's like, we only do stuff for family. And I was thinking, oh, okay, I get it. And she goes, we consider you family, so we'll do it. And I was like, what? I was like, you're kidding me. So I've been very lucky and blessed to get the support and friendship of people like that. And Tyler Kirkham's got a cover on the new book. Alex Sinclair coloring Al Garza, Ryan Kincaid. So I'm very fortunate.
So what kinds of twists and turns can we expect for Grace as the issues go by, specifically in this issue 2?
I give you the PDFs of the issues? I probably should have. My apologies. I'll give them to you after.
Sure, thank you.
Well, anytime someone invites me to a show, I like if they want it, as a thank you. So I can't tell you the ending of book 1, but it's very shocking. It surprised the hell out of everyone. It was really a cliffhanger. We're like, are you kidding me? And book 2, I start to develop other characters as well, but you're going to see her failures. You're going to see her get defeated. You're going to see her down. You're going to see her triumph. Book 2 has 4 reveals that maybe you didn't see coming, or maybe you saw the hints that were in book 1 on some of them. It's hard because it's only in its 2nd issue and it's not big. I want to tell so badly, but this book has Asian mysticism. It has metahumans. It has, for lack of a better term, monsters. It has cyborgs, but it all works. It all makes sense. It sounds like this mash of craziness, but
those are the best comics, though. Those are the best comics.
Yeah, and it, I don't want people to think this is just some street urban character or it's a wannabe Black Widow or Daredevil or Elektra, because I promise you, it's not. It is not what it looks like on the surface at all, and I'm proud of that. So as you go, you're gonna. I mean, Batman and Spider-Man are not just the greatest and most popular heroes for what they are. They're but because they have the best rogues galleries. I have, I think, a really solid rogues gallery of about 15 villains over the first 20 issues.
Mm,
And but they're the best kind of villains. There are villains that you hate to love. There are villains that you love to hate and can't wait to see get theirs. There are villains that they're not black and white. They're gray. And everybody thinks they're the hero in their story, no matter what they're doing. And they don't understand that you're not the hero in your story. And we have those villains. We have a character, Breath of the Dragon, who is her adversary in book one. He's not a villain, but he's casted a villain role, and he's going to explore. He's going to have his journey explored through the first 5 issues as well, and he is unbeatable, and he has a power that I'm so confident has not been used like this before. That if you find a Western comic book with this ability used the way I use it prior to my comic, that first and only person to find it will get any cover of their choice, even if it's foil, on me, shipped free anywhere. I'm that confident it has never been used like this before. And the Breath of the Dragon is a relentless fighter. He's constantly on top of you. He's got a strong armor. And there's a reason for that. And you can't beat him. You just can't. And then there's Joe and Tony, who are the Irish Mafia, and they are the villains you like, because they're funny and they have that camaraderie to each other and they bust each other's chops, like guys do when they're friends, And there's loyalty there. Those are the things we all had that friend that he told the line sometimes of being a real jerk, but he was loyal to you and you loved him anyway, and that's Joe. And everybody has a distinct voice in this book. So as far as, it's just hard to answer your question. I'm sorry if I'm dancing around it without ruining anything. There's a lot of surprises. There's a lot of things you don't see coming. I just can't tell you them. I'm sorry.
tell me about the interest in Asian mysticism.
I grew up on Kung Fu theater on Saturdays here in the States on Channel 5. And it was those were the superheroes, man. I mean, they were flipping and jumping and everything, I mean, the flying guillotine and the 7 storms. And I just love that stuff. And then I started to see, samurais and I was always about honor, nobility, integrity. Those are the things I value as much as, I'm flawed. I try to emulate them. I value them. That's why I love Superman so much.
Yeah.
And samurais with their codes and their nobility, their honor, and the way they did things always intrigued me. Also, just the armors and everything were just so fascinating to me. I loved martial arts. Not that I ever practiced it. I mean, I'm lucky if I can get my foot off the ottoman, but I really respect and appreciate Asian culture. And it's not just one, whether it's Korean, Chinese, Japanese, Filipino, they all just have aspects that I admire. And again, it wasn't a conscious thing. I just created this character. He's part of the Chinese mafia. He's the assassin for the Chinese mafia. And when I write, I didn't script anything out. I didn't have outlines. I just said, I'm going to write. And I just started writing. My imagination flew as I was writing, and it all came on the page. And so I did that with book one. And I said, will you read it to my wife? And I could tell I like honesty, even if it's painful. The greatest respect you can show someone is honesty. I don't want to be the guy on American Idol that can't sing and is embarrassing himself because his family couldn't tell him the truth.
Yeah.
So my wife, knowing that, was worried and nervous about reading it. She's like, what if this sucks? I mean, how do I tell my husband he can't write? This is terrible. So she read it and she was so relieved. She's like, this is really good. I mean, you got typos to fix, but The dialogue is real. It's great. The characters are interesting. The pace is good. And I was like, really? So it just flowed and it went where it went. And it started focusing on the master that trained her for 10, for the 10 years in a China at a temple. And I just wanted to explore that more because I just thought that was more interesting.
Very cool. Is it a challenge? Do you do research on?
Yes, I actually researched the first Chinese emperor in history, and he actually drank some elixir that was supposed to, the legend says, to provide immortality, and he went mad and killed himself. So I actually incorporate that into the story as what the true reason for that was and who was the true. There are immortals in this book. There's just so much. So I try to obviously stick to Chinese armors and ornamental features and stuff. I mean, I'm not perfect because I'm a fat Irishman from New York, but I try and I research names, the Asian names. I actually research the meaning behind the names and I try to make apropos names to the characters and stuff like that. And so,
what are the challenges? This is your first attempt at writing, right?
yes.
What are the challenges? Because everybody always says, write what you know. What are the challenges of being a 49-year-old man writing a woman?
Well, I don't identify, so that makes it difficult. I
Do you have to find something to identify with, or?
Yeah, that's the thing. My wife,
Yeah.
and every woman I've ever known, and just tapping into two things: tapping into what makes women unique, women, and tapping into what makes women humans, just like the rest of us, like men, because I think we're so focused right now on diversity to the sense of separation that we're forgetting wherever you come from, we all have the same desires. We want to feel relevant. We want to live a life that's fulfilling and means something and maybe leave something behind to be remembered by. We all want to feel like we've made a difference or a dent in this world and that it just makes sense. We want happiness and we want peace within ourselves and others. We don't want to be hurt. We don't want to be disappointed. And it doesn't matter if you're a man, woman, Asian, Irish, Latino, we all want that. We may not all handle it the same way. Cultural differences may veer things a different way, but we have the same feelings deep down. So I just try to tap into my 49 years of a lot of relationships that have failed, some that have succeeded, what people are around me, a little of me, a little of my wife. But the challenge for me is when I start writing what I don't know about, like, I'm not a horror writer. I'm not, and I actually wrote a short story book of theological fiction.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah. And it's totally fiction based. It's not any preachy, Bible passages or anything like that. It's total fiction, but it revolves around God and Satan and questions we all may have about God. And I answer them in a fictitious way, because obviously I don't have those answers. So I've always been into the psychology of people. What makes you tick? Why do you act the way you do? Why do you react? I mean, simple inflections and tones of voice, words that are selected, body language. I've always been really good at reading people within a few minutes. The main gist, like, nobody knows anybody deeply in that, but a main gist of what is this person? What are they like in 10 minutes of interaction? And I just try to apply that to my writing.
Let's talk about some of the awards and tiers that you have for chapter 2. What do we got for your backers?
So first off, I'm a big art collector, as you can see. So I love to support and employ artists. So I have a lot of covers. And I know that might be intimidating some people. They might think that's my ploy to get you to buy the book 20 different times. I promise you it's not. and I can prove it's not. We have 12 or 13 covers from various artists on this book, from great independent artists you may not know to mainstream big names like Tyler Kirkham, Alex Sinclair, Al Garza, Ryan Kincaid. We also have a sketchbook. If you're an art collector like me and you want to get sketches done, it's a blank sketch cover, I should say. Or, if you're an artist and we have an affordable tier to pick up a bunch of books. And then you can, you buy it for the $8, but you can turn around and draw something beautiful and sell it for $60, $80, $120. You can make a nice markup and help support artists. But I have a book of cover art. We have 50 covers between the first 2 issues, which is crazy. Well, this book of art, cover art, is so you don't feel you have to buy the same book over and over and over again. I'm not trying to milk anybody for an extra $1. You could buy the art book and have every cover and just buy the regular studio if you want, or whatever the sake may be, if there's one that you want specifically for grading, etc. And it eliminates that anxiety of, my God, this is overwhelming, or, I just don't have $50 to buy 4, 5, 6 books, So we have that. We have them in foil. You could pick any cover in foil. We have them in virgin without the trade dress. Or foil virgin, and we have what we call a mix and match, a selection of the most popular covers from book 1, if you want to get both book 1 and 2, and whatever cover you want from book 2. It's a mix and match, and you can get the 2 favorite covers. We have a catch-up tier where you can buy book 1 and book 2 together, or the PDFs. Look, I just want you to read the book and hopefully love it. So if you just want to get the $6 PDF, $6 gets you 30 full color pages of story. And then the second book is 26. You can get both those PDFs for $12 or so. And we're even doing a PDF of the art book. And you could take that home. You could buy that PDF. I send it to you and you can print it up and make prints of it and hang them on your wall, whatever you want to do with them. I just want to celebrate the art form and the story writing and comics for what they've done for me growing up. And I'm not looking to milk anyone. I just want to get it out there.
Do you have a favorite comic book artist ever?
Oh, that's a tough one. I mean, Mark Silvestri, V. Ken Marion, David Finch, John Byrne, Ian Churchill. Oh my God, I love Ian Churchill. Will Spatasio. I mean, to get Ian Churchill, Will Spatasio on my book is a dream come true. I mean, they are amazing. I don't think Ian Churchill gets enough credit. They are.
Tell the people you love that you love them while they're still here.
That's right. That's when it means the most.
Is there anything else you'd like to plug, like any conventions or?
Well, right now it's my repping agency, Legendary Illustrations. I rep a lot of amazing people. If you go to www.belegendaryillustrations.com, you can see a lot of the artists I rep. I have 2 new ones I have to put up there. We're very affordable. If you're looking to do your book, I have letterers, colorers, inkers, pencilers, cover artists, and we really work with you, and we understand you want to make your dream come true. So we'll work with you. We've also, they've done Vampirella and published works, Dynamite and stuff. So these are top-notch professionals. So Legendary Illustrations, and then just Tragedy. If
Links
you
down
could,
below. Yeah.
If they could just forego this week's Starbucks cup of coffee for $8, where they write your name wrong on the cup. And
Starbucks is $8 in the States?
Yeah. Something like that.
Wow.
I don't go to Starbucks. It's at least $6. It's somewhere around there.
Over here, it's like $3.
Really? Yeah. For the price of that Starbucks cup of coffee, you could get the PDF. I mean, if you're tired of what mainstream is doing right now, I think you'll like this book. It's written from passion. And I don't use it as a pulpit or a megaphone. My opinions don't matter. Writing a good story does. So I promise you, I'm not failing you as a writer where I'm preaching to you about what you should know or think or whatever. And if that's not an issue for you with what's going on right now, that's fine. It's still just a good story.
Yeah.
And I just hope that you give it a shot, because you'd be surprised for that $6 PDF or whatever. you might actually say, wow, this makes me feel excited about books again.
Thank you so much, Phil.
Thank you.
Good luck.